Hi, welcome to Barmy Army podcast number 25. Well, apparently we're no longer in isolation now the season has started. Somebody better tell the country that. Do you remember, Ed, when we had very little to talk about? And in fact, we kind of scraped the barrel, make up a subject, drag it out for an hour. Strap yourselves in. We could be on this one for a long time tonight. I'm delighted to be joined by Iain, Fiona and Shane. What a day. Iain, let's start with you. How are you doing, first of all?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Oh, buzzing. I'm not going to swear this time, unlike the fan cams. Fiona, how are you doing?
I think I've just about recovered.
Okay, nice and settled. Shane?
I'm relaxed. I mean, I get the feeling something's been going on, but I don't know what it is. You know, everyone seems to be talking about something, but I'm completely out of the blue on this.
I think somebody else in Manchester announced a signing. I think that's the only thing that people are referring to. Don't really need to mention that. Very good evening, John, Gary, Torren, Voyas, Mark, and anybody else who might be joining us this evening. Any comments we'd absolutely appreciate and love. Please join in as much as you can. We've got a load to get through tonight, as you may have noticed. When we originally planned this podcast, Jake, hello. We were planning to just talk about the Chelsea game that's been. Maybe we'd talk about the Birmingham game that's coming up. But we've got a bit to fit in there as well. So a little bit to talk about the Lionesses, really small bit probably. A huge 58-minute conversation about Millie Turner's new contract, if it was up to me, and whatever else might have gone on as well. So let's try and do this in chronological order. Chelsea, last weekend, 1-1 draw that I said at the end almost felt more than a draw. Iain, what were your thoughts on the game?
Do you know what? I expected us to be whipped, honestly. And do you know what? After that, we started well, but then Chelsea just got on to us. You know, they scored. Sam Kerr could have had a hat-trick in that first half. Thankfully, she left her shooting boots down in London again. But the second half performance, I don't know what Casey said at half time, but they came out a completely different side. And if that game had gone on another 10, 15 minutes, I think we might have nicked it. But do you know what? Second half performance, brilliant. So I'm really chuffed with the point.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those even when we saw the teams announced, not so much the actual 11, but then we saw the benches. And the fact that we were struggling to even put a bench together, it was a case of, if we get anything out of this, we've got to be overjoyed. Fiona, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, before the game, I thought, maybe it could be a 0-0 draw, or we'd just lose by one goal. That seems to be something we do quite a lot against the top three teams. And when you saw that starting 11, you thought, okay, maybe we've got some injuries here. But also, like, Jackie's on the bench, she's not 100% match fit. But then, before they scored, you thought we looked like a team of 11, like actually playing together. It looked like pre-season had gone well, whereas sometimes last year you'd think it looks like 11 players on the pitch that haven't spoken to each other for a couple of weeks. Then obviously they scored, heads dipped a bit, but then we were back fighting again. Leah hit the crossbar, and like Iain said, towards the end of the game, give us a bit longer. It could have been a different result, but yeah, like you said, Deb, it felt more than just a draw. We scored against a top three team. That was great. We got a point against them as well, so very happy.
From a psychological point of view, it was a massive result. I know we started last season, we had City, we had Arsenal. There were games we didn't necessarily anticipate getting much from, but they were frustrating games in as much as we were in them. We just couldn't get the goal. I think one of your many screens is buzzing away there, Fiona, isn't it? Just so that people know, how many screens do you have going on Sunday?
I had 5 on the go.
You had 5 on the go.
One was updating my spreadsheet, so important work.
Okay, that's another podcast that you and Shane, I think, and Torrin might join you. Just like Spreadsheet Daily or something, or you have a spreadsheet to show you when the podcast is up. No, anyway, Shane, your thoughts on the Chelsea game, please.
It was very much a game of two halves, I thought. Yeah, first, I think probably went how many would expect it. Chelsea were on top. But as we proved throughout both seasons that we've been in existence, you know, sometimes being the underdog benefits us. I thought we coped with them well. I think, as Iain said, on any other day, if certain players had their shooting boots on, and you know, we could have gone in 4-0 down at half time, and that's, you know, that's not being unrealistic. But second half, that was a United. It was very much a United performance. We came and we took the game to them. I'm going to keep banging on about it for weeks because on a Batya, I was going to say battle, it's wrong. She was really fantastic. Yeah. She was absolutely fantastic. You know, for a debut, it didn't look like it phased her at all. Tooney as well, probably got glossed over quite a bit, you know, in the euphoria of earning a draw. But, you know, she clearly worked her socks off because she was absolutely knackered by the end of that game. Jackie, as others have said, I think she come on, she did a fantastic job in what's probably a bit of an unfamiliar position for her. But Casey kept her on the bench for a reason, and she came on and almost proved her right. Not necessarily saying she has to start sub all the time, but Casey said, I wanted to keep her back so she could come on and have an impact in the game if we needed her to, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't that Jackie wasn't good enough to start. It was that she knew she didn't have game changers off the bench. So that's why Jackie came off the bench. Torrance, happy to join you, Fiona and Shane. Joining Spreadsheet FC. Jake said, I put the comments up, Chelsea are a much stronger side. To hold them was a real success, if you ask me. Some might say it's a lack of ambition to be glad to get a point at home. But I think after last year's struggles, just breaking these teams down and not having anywhere close to our strongest 11, definitely. Mark makes the point. Mary made some good saves as well. Kept us in it, I think it's safe to say. Yes, I think had it been the other way around and it would have been our strikers or our attackers, we'd have been upset that they didn't put them either side of the goalkeeper. Honor, again, an absolutely fantastic debut. Nat, we know. We're coming to that one. So it's been, I think, a great, promising, confident start to the season. We could talk about that one. We could really talk about tactics. We could talk about the fact that Sam Kerr should have had us down and out by half time. We could talk about perhaps some of the players who didn't shine. There is progress within some of these players. Okay? Maybe that's for another day. So, great result. Come off that. Midweek, we end up with a lioness, well, a squad announcement, a training squad, because there's no games. So Abby Max called up. She's a regular. Mary's not made the squad. But first call-ups to the senior squad for Katie, Tooney and Mill. United fans often have a very, I know Nat, but feel like I've got to, I've got to give the girls credit. United fans very often have a very strange relationship with the English national team. Men's and women's. I'm going to be completely honest, from personal level, great. It doesn't really make much difference, but I'm happy for them that they've got this growth. They've got this potential. Hopefully they can stay in the England squad and actually get a cap at least, and then retire from internationals and come play for United permanently and be safe for us. Iain, any thoughts on the players, on the international call-ups, and also giving Abby credit as well?
Yeah, it was obviously, as you said, Abby is a fixture in that England side now. Okay, she doesn't necessarily start, but she's one that can come off the bench, or she's a squad player. But for Katie said when she started this journey with United, 2 and a bit years ago now, that she wanted to get into the England squad. That was one of her one of the things she wants to do, you know, and she's got into a training squad now, and she can improve what she does. We know what Millie can do. We know what Tuli can do. So for them personally, I'm really pleased. I just want them to come back fit and healthy, ready to play Brighton at the beginning of October.
Here, Shane. Any thoughts on England?
Very little. Yeah, I think I'm in your camp on that one, Deb. It's look, tournaments, I'm all for it, but when it's the international breaks are so disruptive to league seasons, and it does my head in, and I just find the whole the international friendly scene extremely boring. But like you said, and you know, pointed out very well, for the girls, I'm absolutely chuffed for them. You know, it's something that a lot of players, both men's and women's, all aim for. They all want to represent the country on, you know, international level in the senior squad. So for them to get the call up on a personal level, I'm really pleased for them.
Yeah, Fiona, I'll come to you in a second. Ellen makes the point: international caps bring valuable experience that might be useful for us on club level. So, echoing the thoughts we all have about national team. Absolutely not got any issues with that. United over England yet. Fiona, thoughts on 4 players getting a call up to England?
I think it's great news for them. Katie said that was her aim this season, to consistently perform, to prove that she is worthy of an England call-up. So, you know, kind of job done, I suppose. So, yeah, now she just needs to be consistent to make sure she gets called up again for any future training camps or friendlies, if that's what she wants to do. Yeah, I thought Tuni was a bit of a surprise because, you know, we haven't seen her start in all the games, but you could maybe argue there was some, because of COVID, there was some players not called up, so maybe it was there. And then, yeah, Millie, it's great news for her. Again, on social media, she was like absolutely chuffed about it. I think that was probably one of her aims as well. Like Ellen says, great experience for them, you know, maybe get a few games in big crowds. So that's good experience for them at club level. If United get to like an FA Cup final at Wembley or Conti Cup, wherever we play, it'd be good to have some players that are used to that experience. So that would be valuable. As long as Millie doesn't pick up some of the traits of some of the other England defenders, you know, she needs to go and prove to them. You know, she's there to fight for that space. And yeah, we will see.
Yeah, I know you mentioned about the players that can't make the training squad because of what they play abroad and there's a quarantine issue. But I think somebody pointed out that there's 1 midfielder and 3 forwards, 3 forward players. So even if those players were in the squad, you're guessing at least one of our midfielders makes it, either Tuni or Zell. But there's nobody that's out so that Mill can make it. And I think Millie Turner making the England squad is overdue and very, very deserved. But I'm biased. So, yeah, that's England. The only other thing people have mentioned is that Mary wasn't picked. And I think on the form she had on Sunday, that's a surprise. I think the challenge for Mary is to go and do it consistently. And if she does that week in, week out, she'll be back in that England squad. Absolutely no problem. Right, so that's England. So what else have we got to talk about? Right, we've got about 50 minutes, maybe 47 minutes. We're going to talk about Millie Turner getting her 50th appearance for United and getting a new contract. We'll see. Maybe talk about Brum if there's any time left. First of all, massive achievement that we've actually got a player who has made 50 appearances for us. I still look at the women's team as a fledgling team, and I don't even count us as 2 seasons old. We're a season and a half because of the way last season went. But Millie has been pretty, not quite, Shane will correct me if I dare say it, but she's been as near to an ever present as we've had. I know there's a few other players just behind her on that landmark, so hopefully they'll get there certainly before the end of the calendar year. But an absolutely incredible achievement for Millie, very deserved, and for me, just she's one of, if not the first name on a team sheet after you've got a captain there. Would you say the same thing, Fiona?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very glad that she is the first player to reach it as well. Yeah, she was last year one of our best players consistently. So yeah, very well deserved.
Shane, what are your thoughts on? Obviously, we mentioned about Millie getting this 50th appearance. I know you love your stats, but I'm going to ask you something else. Her new contract. I think it's one we were all desperate to hear about. The only shame for me is it's not longer. It's the United favourite of an option after 2 years. They love that option of an extra year. And I know in women's football, you're not really going to get much more, but we'd have all been happy with a really long-term deal for Millie, I take it. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, lifetime at a minimum.
And family as well.
That has to be the minimum. And, well, lifetime plus the option, of course. But yeah, no, I think it's important. You know, players like Millie and LJ as well, who obviously had her new contracts. The players like that, they're the ones you want to keep. You know, Millie in particular, she's such a consistent performer. It's no surprise that she's the first one to get to 50 games. Admittedly helped by the fact that she's played every game bar one. Which is just a slight little blemish on the record, which I'm sure she absolutely hates. But you know, I think she was always going to be the first one to get there. So the new contract, I think, is thoroughly deserved, and probably a bit of a relief on our side as well that we can tie down and at least keep her here, not against her will.
Yeah,
she wants to be here,
and we wanted
forever.
Yes. And ever, with an option for evermore. I think Nat's getting a bit frustrated. She seems to want me to move on to a different topic. Iain, your thoughts on Millie? 50 appearances, new contract. Not the best performance by her standards, I think, on Sunday, but still.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I was going to say the only time I think. Yeah, she gave the ball away. The one thing I do remember from that game, she gave the ball straight to Sam Kerr. You know, in that first half, and we were very lucky that Sam Kerr, again, can't score. You know, with every chance she gets, like she has beaten, that she knows she can do. But you know, I'm not going to blame her for that ball over the top that let Sam Kerr through. She was completely taken out of the game by that ball. No way any defender was. You know, that ball was so good that any defender would have been beaten by it. But we've seen her over, you know, her 50 appearances, how good she is, and she will put her body on the line if when needed. You know, she's not quite an Amy T when it comes to getting stuck in, but she will always put her best in every game in and game out. So I'm really pleased she's got a new deal. I would love to have it been a bit longer. You know, I tweeted about this as well. I think we should have her forever. But, you know, what she tweeted, which you've just put up from Ellen.
Yeah, put it back up, actually.
Just, you know, my club, my team, my home. You know, you would think she was a red through and through.
Yeah. Yes.
And we know she's not.
She is.
She might be converted by now. I'd like to think she's seen the error of her City supporting ways, and
yes. But
all we need now is to change its squad
really
number.
Pleased. Yeah. I'm really, really pleased that she signed on, and you know, I'm pretty sure that will be a 3-year deal. That extension will definitely be picked up on.
Yeah, there's a lot of love coming in for Millie here. Jake saying he doesn't know what he loves more about her ability or her personality. Casey said something when the announcement was made about Millie's personality, and it seems like Casey really enjoys big personalities in the dressing room. Seems like a brilliant presence in the changing room as well. Yeah, thanks, Pontus. So Millie's the first one to get to 50 as of the playing squad. We've got a lot of players. I know, Shane, this is in your wheelhouse. People have been commenting where Zell's up to, LJ. We've got players on the cusp of it. Tooney, I think, close.
Yes, yeah, Jess, Katie and Tooney are the next. They're on 48, I think. Okay. So nobody. So Brighton's the next opportunity for somebody to get the 50. Okay.
Right. So should we talk about Birmingham now? No. Right. If we get a chance, But Shane, do you want to talk about Birmingham? No.
Not particular.
No.
It's only more affiliation.
Just yeah. Okay.
Circumstantial.
Purely by geography, nothing else. Frank's confirmed that Millie's a red. Frank being Millie's grandfather, who we all miss at the moment. Actually, it's not the same not seeing them at games, not being at games. When we do hopefully get to games, which at the moment feels even further off now after today's announcement, after today's news, yesterday's announcement. When we do get to games, there could be some excitement because although, how many weeks ago, Fiona? 3 weeks? Was it? You broke it? Mark was sat, yeah, you were sat at home watching the podcast and Mark was talking, I think Mark was talking, was it you, Iain? And Jake?
No,
I
was watching.
You were watching. And
Jake and John.
Yes, it was. It was Jake and John. And talking about where we could end up, what our hopes were for the season. And Fiona drops the message, if the rumours are true, why not third? Or something along those lines, if the rumours were true. A few of us sat there, and I remember watching it thinking, what are these rumours? Pick up my phone, what am I missing? Mark says, Fiona, tell me, what are these rumours? Fiona drops the line, Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. And it was absolutely impossible at that point when you mentioned that. And yet the source was spot on. Because as of 3 and 5 o'clock this afternoon, congratulations to the Manchester United women's admin because they did a fine job today. Absolutely outstanding. United have signed both Tobin Heath and Kristen Press for a season. It's just announced as a deal. We've heard it's a loan, but no one's saying anything. We have them for the season. Fiona, you and I did a podcast some time ago where we talked about the players who were coming in from the American leagues. Would we be prepared to take somebody on a short-term deal? And you and I were both hesitating because of players having to go back in January, February, maybe, and unsettling a team, saying if you're going to bring somebody in, you bring them in for the season. So what do? Casey goes out and gets 2 of the biggest names in world football. Okay? Shane, absolutely with you. You can say it to me now, but yeah, the admin played a blinder. Jake
Sorry about moving me mouth.
Went into meltdown. Admin Namrata, completely agree. That admin needs rewarding. Spot on. I've got my thoughts on us signing them, and I'm going to hold on to them for the time being because I'm just hosting this thing. Iain, now it's done. We talked about it for weeks. It's done now. What are your thoughts?
I'm buzzing. Really, really am. I we knew it was a done deal, but until it's announced, you always think there's always something that could happen, something could go wrong. Whilst they're in the States, they could have fallen down the stairs. For anything's possible. But now, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm absolutely buzzing, and I can't wait to see them play. Okay, I know initially we might only be able to watch them on the telly or on the FA Player, but I really do hope we get to see them in person because I still think that these 2 are the biggest signings of the summer in the Barclays Women's Super League. I honestly do. Mewis and Lavelle into City, yeah, they're big players. Bronze into City, big player. Don't get me wrong.
Somebody else that brought in today, but let's move on.
Oh, I wasn't going to mention that person.
Oh, fine. It's a bench warmer.
Yeah. Some people are buzzing over a person that only played 3 minutes of the Champions League final at stoppage time. That's how good she is.
Iain, I've never seen this side of you. Now, Mark is making the point.
More of this. This is the ref we want.
No.
Sorry. Lockdown has done funny things to me. I'm a little bit more forthcoming with my views at times now. But you know what? I'm going to say this. What Kirsty put out on Twitter after Tobin's announcement,
yeah,
that just, that was really pleasing to see. You know, we've got
Kirsty
such a young squad. Yeah, we've got such a young squad. You know, bringing in these two that between them have over 200 US caps. They both won Olympic golds. They both won 2 World Cups. What our young squad are going to pick up from these two? Think what LJ could pick up off these two. We know how good LJ is already, but what she could pick up from these two is astronomical. And there's a possibility somebody else could pick some good stuff out of them as well.
Well, I'm just going to jump on. John says, I've heard we're even signing one more player tomorrow.
Maybe.
Maybe. Shane? Tonight?
I'll take the pay rise. I don't mind that.
Yeah. Iain, you mentioned about the tweet Kirsty Hanson put out. This absolutely impressed me no end. The tweet reads, exciting times, nothing better being a young player and being able to watch and learn from one of the best in the world. Fiona, you and I talked about her position probably being the one most under threat if either of these play. We talked about Rachel Daly. Actually, she was the name when we originally talked about it. And we were saying, do we unsettle Kirsty Hanson for 4 or 5 months? At what cost to us? And yet, actually, what she's saying here is, yeah, I might not be first choice anymore, but oh my word, what an opportunity. And I just love that mentality of, I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm not saying that I've made it, I've done it. Back. Sorry, Voice, thank you for posting it, actually. I've just put that up. Yeah. That to me, just it's a sign that Casey's got the right mentality in that changing room. Maybe that's something that's shifted in the last week or so, getting those people in. Effie, absolutely. Hanson's got the perfect attitude for a young player. Love people like that. So, yeah, Iain, you mentioned it. Shane, what were your thoughts?
No, I think we've slightly calmed down a bit more from what we were earlier. I mean, look, like you said, the rumour started weeks ago, and could any of us predicted it? No. I know there's been a lot of, or a few at least, players coming over from America on, be it on loan or these 1-year deals, however they want to play it. We never really got any inkling that we were going to be one of the destinations for anyone. Maybe some wanted, but there was never anything solid to go on that suggested anyone was coming our way as far as we were concerned. Transfer business was done as well as it could have been. We didn't get everyone we wanted, or Casey didn't get everyone that she wanted, rather. But, the window's still open to the 10th, which she was quite adamant about. And, yeah, absolutely 100% she was bang on with that, especially after the interview and that grin on Sunday, which probably gives the game away. But, yeah, like a lot of people say, it's one of the worst kept secrets, aren't they? So I think we were all ready for it. We were just eager to get it formalised, I suppose. And now it's happened. As Nat would say, let's go.
I think we've got to let's go. That was some of Nat's message.
I need to work on my pronunciation a bit, but
yeah. Jake says that he's never been so excited to see his favourite player. We'll take out the potentially lose their place.
Favourite?
I think it's safe to say that your £20 is relatively safe at the moment as well, Iain. Yeah, not sure that Jane's going to get a lot of game time, depending on what the options are. We're also in people with injuries as well. Fiona, you broke it 3 weeks ago. You were our ITK. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah, it's when you looked at our squad last year, we lacked goals, and still 2 or 3 weeks ago, it still looked like we lacked goals. Jane wasn't firing for whatever reason, played out of position, not played in it, tactics to best or whatever. But that's what we need to work on. If we want to win games, if we want to get into the top 3 or fighting for top 3, we need to score goals. And these two, you're really bringing that they score themselves or they set up other people, which is great. Attacking, playing. They also come with experience, which is brilliant. Pass it on to Kirsty. Kirsty, this is her first. This will be her first full season in the WSL.
Yes.
She's got a lot to learn, and who better than somebody who's won Olympic medals or World Cup medals? Pass on that. Sometimes, does she always play the same way? Maybe Tobin can help her think about, oh, these are my options, that kind of thing, which would be great. And yeah, I think having Tobin there for a full season, you're not going to then drop Kirsty in it come January or February and okay, now you're playing. But we weren't playing you last month because you weren't our best player then. But yeah, no, Kirsty has the right mentality. Hopefully some of the others in the team can see that. They don't necessarily all have to post it on social media, but it's nice to see that. I don't think we ever doubted that from Kirsty, did we? We know she likes to fight and develop and fight for that place in the team. Yeah, and then Kristen Press, brilliant player, could easily catch Ed's eye thinking shirt sales in America, boom, fan base grow in America, boom. Even for the men's team, if we get somebody interested in the women's team, they might then move over to the men's side, which you don't see that often. But these are all things that would have been considered when we were going for these moves. But as has been said previously, if you'd asked a month ago, would we have thought this was realistic? No. I think the only person that had asked for it at that point would be Amber, and that's because Kristen's her favourite player.
Yeah, Amber's been asking for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think anybody else.
Dream. Yeah, that was as a pipe dream, as a go and sign. Whoever. Can't really say it for the men's team because obviously we'd have those aspirations, but go and get the best player out there. And it just so happens we have done, or one of the best players.
I think it would have been different if we were looking at some of the defenders for the USA team. You'd think, well, are you really going to change anything for us? You'd help us, but Kristen and Tobin providing all those goals, that's really going to move us up another level to where we are. We will now be fighting for that third spot, second spot, whatever, for that Champions League position. We will be fighting for a trophy much more comfortably than we would have been last season, I would say. FA Cup final or Conti Cup, I don't mind. Just a trophy would be great.
I have to say, I've tried to be really calm throughout this. I'll very quickly, Iain. Jake says don't rest. Jane could play this weekend, get a hat trick, and she's done. In which case, and Mark fully supportive of Jake. Okay, he's fully supportive.
This will be a wise investment.
I'll say this now. We know. We'll come on to Birmingham, but he's got a point. He does have a point. But I'd like to say one thing about obviously these two coming in as well. What does this do to Casey's mantra of crawl, walk, run?
Now, this is a point I've made. This is gone, and this is the point. One of the things I'd said on previous podcasts was this completely throws that out the window, because this makes us go almost from crawl, Usain Bolt. There is no in between, or crawl, ultramarathon. The difficulty for me, and we will have these conversations hopefully as the podcasts continue throughout the season and towards the back end of the season. I know I'm projecting forward, but how it changes, how it impacts on Casey's transfer window, who she aspires to, who she can sell the club to, depending on how we're performing. Because if we get these two players and they raise our level, for a start, she can't go backwards, and we as the fans are not going to accept it. So this radically changes that, was it a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, however long it was, that crawl, walk, run mantra, that's out the window now. And I think we all know, without COVID, this deal doesn't happen. Without COVID, yes, we finished last season, that would have happened. We would have probably made different signings this season. Maybe we'd have still brought in Honor, Ivana, and Lucy Stan. Maybe we'd have brought somebody else as well. We would not be looking at Tobin Heath, Kristen Press. That's fair to say. No matter how big the pull of Manchester United, and I felt quite emotional. Sounds weird to say. I felt quite emotional. I was driving home when the second one, Kristen Press, was announced, and I actually pulled in at 5 o'clock just to get that tweet. And I realised I'm not doing myself any favours now. But I've been a fan of the men's team all my life. And for me, I've always been brought up and I've been used to the fact that the men's team are Manchester United, one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in world football. But to me, the women's team isn't yet. And to be signing these two for what almost feels like a little fledgling club, even though we're not, we're still Manchester United, but in the context of women's football, we're small. And yet, bang, here you go. Here's two World Cup winners. Here's two absolute world stars. Go and have them for a season. Go and change the landscape and go and pull up trees kind of thing. It just felt massive. And I think we've all been at that point the last few weeks of we want it to be true. We want to believe it. We want to get giddy. And Fiona, I remember saying to you in a podcast, we've not heard it's not happened. So I'm going to go with the fact it's still happening because we were desperate to think it was still on. There's a tweet I came across before. I was talking to you guys before we came on air that there's a suggestion that it talks about Tobin, but I think that's because Tobin was announced first. Her quarantine is up back end of next week. So that would suggest Tobin certainly travelled last weekend. So if that's the case, we were never going to get them for the Birmingham game, but it gives them an opportunity to get through quarantine, supposing they've travelled roughly at the same time, if not together. Yes, Jake, I remember. I'm coming to that in a minute. Oh, no, wrong one. There you go. Remember when yeah, we do. Next level. Definitely next level now. So we're assuming then that they'll come out of quarantine for next weekend. They'll go into training. We've got this 3-week gap, 2 weeks, am I right in thinking, for internationals, and then a week of what is the ridiculous FA Cup from last year. So that by the time everybody's back, hopefully fit, ready to go, these two could play some part. I think it's safe to say they've not played for a long time. We're not going to get 90 minutes out of them straight away. But I just hope we're there to actually see it. Jake, you're right. Come on, then. Let's pick Jake's comment to pieces here.
Because Let's have some ambition. Come on.
Come on, Jake. Did you never think we could get Preston Heath? No. I think the point Jake makes is that had it been a normal window, had we not had COVID, our sights would have been very different. Iain, you did talk about the crawl, walk, run mantra of cases. What do you think we can? Where do you think she'll go with this? Because you don't refuse these players if you're offered them or if you go for them.
No, indeed.
But does it develop a difficulty for you? A nice problem.
It is a really nice problem. Do you know what? Most of these deals have probably come from agents saying, my players want game time, put out feelers to clubs who can take them. So it's really good we've got them. But one thing it will do is if we do end up towards the end of the season looking at getting Champions League football, the signings next summer have to be Champions League quality.
This is the point John's making here, Iain. If they get us Champions League football, we can get better quality players signing for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're not gonna, just for the example, if Pernell Harder had stayed at Wolfsburg this season and been available on a free next summer, I know there's lots of people who were looking for her to come to United next summer. And if we had Champions League football, that type of signing would be possible because we wouldn't have to pay £350,000 to Wolfsburg like Chelsea have done.
Iain, very quickly, are you surprised that Chelsea have paid out that kind of money for her a season before she's free?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be honest with you. I am surprised that, she's available on a free next summer. Why spend £350,000 on her? you look at the forward line Chelsea already have with Beth England, Sam Kerr. You don't need to, I don't know how Emma Hayes is going to fit 5 strikers into her. She's going to have to be rotating them in and out every week. So she's not going to keep somebody happy. Someone is going to get annoyed at Chelsea and will probably leave next summer because of lack of game time.
John says it seems like a panic buy. To give context, I think somebody said that it's, how do I put this? The total spend, Shane, with your stats, you'll bear me out on this one. The total spend on women's transfer fees last season was about 400,000. That's accumulated over everybody. Chelsea have blown this out of the water by spending 300,000 on one player alone. So we might look at the men's side of football and go, well, 300,000 is neither here nor there. But actually, this is Neymar. It's that kind of a deal that will probably change the face of signings for some time, probably. Whether it's permanent, I don't know. But just seems...
When you consider as well that we sold a player a couple of seasons ago for, I think, what was it, 40,000 euros even, that was. Not even sterling, that's euros, 40 grand. And that was rising up to 60. And that, at the time, we were told that's big money.
Yes.
So you're now talking about a deal that is what, I don't know, maths is failing me now, but what, 6, 7 times? Yeah, almost 7 times what higher than that. So that there's the context. If 40 grand was big money, this is astronomical.
Yeah.
On Chelsea though, I don't think it's a panic buy, and I'm not surprised that they've gone and done it, because there's a bit of a history of the WSL where the team, when someone wins the league, they get in the Champions League. They then don't win the league the next year, and then dropping out, and then they're not in the Champions League next season. This is Emma Hayes trying to right that. She wants, not only does she want to go and win the Champions League, of course they want to win the Champions League, but this is also about they want to dominate. And look, I'm not going to kiss Chelsea's behind here, but that's very clever business from her. They've got the resources to do it, so why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
We're in the position to have 5 strikers one day where Casey's got an absolute mammoth headache.
I'd love nothing more than to see that. Namrata makes the point. Chelsea, we know, have got money to spend from their owner. We have to spend United money. But I'm wondering whether this is a bit of a sea change in United's budget. Casey has always made the point that we have one of the lowest budgets in the WSL. I don't see how that can still be the case necessarily, if only because of whatever wages or if there's some deal to bring the Americans in. Hopefully this is the beginning of a change. Jake, you're asking, will that prove costly to Chelsea? Don't know. Don't know and don't. Fiona, your thoughts are, does this change our budget, do you think?
On the harder thing, I think they probably went for as well because her partner plays for Chelsea and they said they want to play together and her contract runs out next year. So if they weren't playing together this year, Chelsea's captain could leave to play wherever Harder's playing and they lose her on a free. So maybe they were thinking, if we get Harder, we keep our captain as well. That's just something for them to consider. I don't know. Lots of things going through Emma's head. So
that would make a lot of sense, but it's a really expensive way of keeping your captain as well. But hey, get Harder into the deal. Shane, crawl, walk, run. Are we even close to that anymore, or have we just blown it out of the water? Do the Yanks completely change that? And
of course I do. Of course I do.
But is there a chance? I'm going to be a naysayer for a minute, okay? Because I think I'm supposed to be neutral, or I'm supposed to kind of play devil's advocate a bit at this point and not get ridiculously excited and getting going, woohoo! She says with both a press and a Heath flag above right now that I think they've been shown on Twitter. Imagine we go through all this and they don't settle. Where does that leave us then? Not played in this country before, Yes, there's no language barrier. That's one thing. And as somebody pointed out before, Jill Ellis was their coach in the national team, so they know the accent. But what if they don't settle? They're here for a year. They can't nip home because of COVID, because of quarantine. There's a lot of pressure on them as well now.
Of course there is. It's a very, very good point, actually. I think we spoke before about, them coming over together is arguably a benefit because, there's someone there that they're already familiar with. This isn't just one coming over from America for a season into a squad of 23, 24, where they all know each other, they're all settled and gelled, and you're the new kid. This is two that are as familiar with each other as you can get on a football pitch. They've played with each other for the national team for so long now, and they're both so experienced. So I hope it doesn't turn into a situation where they don't settle, because I think they're in the best circumstance to settle. I think Casey's got a very good track record of getting new people in, settling quickly. She had, 4 or 5 weeks to even get a squad together in the first season. You've then got the players that we added last season, and you can see that they all gel very quickly. I'll go back to Chelsea and look at Anna. That didn't look like someone who's just come through the door. That looked like someone who's been there quite a while. So I'd be confident that we wouldn't be in a situation where they're going to be unsettled or not settle quickly or be out of their comfort zone. I think they're experienced and professional enough that they probably know how to combat those kind of things anyway. But we're not talking about an 18, 19-year-old who's just got to move to Man United. You're talking about 2 World Cup winners, 2 Olympic winners. They're going to be as professional as you can get.
Yeah, I have to throw this one up.
The comparison might be better towards Jackie and the expectation put on her.
You know what, Jay?
We did mention that, actually, didn't we?
Yeah.
With Jackie, we said this might actually help Jackie push on a bit this season because it's a bit of the limelight taken off her.
Yeah. People are saying here that they've both played in Europe before. They've got experience in other places than the US. Yes, it's the fact that they're going to be at the same team. They know each other. Everything that can help them to settle. I'm just asking there's no part of me that doesn't want them to succeed. Of course, I want them to absolutely rip the league to pieces, and I want them to take us as far as we possibly can this season and just have the greatest season we possibly can. I'm just asking that question. They know what pressure is, what makes them great. Yeah, the American players known to rise to the pressure. I also wonder whether having Mewis and Lavelle at City will give it an added edge of we're going to do better than you, in case it needed a bit more spice. Fiona, any thoughts?
Yeah, maybe, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw them all hanging out together in like the Northern Quarter or something like that, going for a coffee on a Tuesday afternoon or Monday afternoon, that kind of thing. But yeah, them coming together, they'll have those two in the same city as well. So, it isn't going to be too difficult, I don't think, for them to settle. And Kristen has been in Sweden, where you'd obviously have the language barrier as well. Tobin has been at PSG, so it isn't. I don't think it'll be too big of a change. And yeah, United's like one of the biggest clubs, so you don't turn it down just because you think, oh, will I settle in? Will I be okay? I think they will see it as another challenge to rise to, and they will do that.
Some of their stats, thanks for all of these comments. This is fantastic. You'll be out of a job, Shane. Kristen, 25 goals in one season in Sweden. Tobin had a goal every 2 games for PSG. Mark makes a point, Fiona. The girl's third. It's your always.
Hotels. I think there's a typo there. Hotels.
Both put an S before the T. Jake is just, he's all for the Conte. Absolutely.
I've got to say, I'm kind of with Jake on that one because I was quite open last season that, look, a trophy's a trophy, and I'll take any of the three that we can go for. But I made no secret last season I wanted that Conti Cup. So if we get that one, I'll be happy.
Anything.
Get them all though. Get them all.
Why limit ourselves?
Clean sweep.
Domestic treble.
Yeah, they want the treble. That's what they want.
Yes, but that would mean that would mean Euro aways. Ellen's saying no hostels. Mark's back down. He said, okay, good hotels. And Nat's just said, get yourselves ready because we're going. Nat wants to win the Conti.
Nat's got our accommodation in Norway sorted, she said. So,
Apparently, Nat says Conti's greater than the FA Cup.
Oh.
I won't be saying that for the men, that the League Cup's better than
the FA Cup. No.
This season's Conti Cup is better than last season's FA Cup.
Whoa.
Yeah, that one completed.
I love this.
Yeah, exactly. That would be.
Battle of the X's, love it.
Absolutely. There you go. I don't think Ellen wants the hostels in Oslo. But FA Cup's greater. I would have thought the FA Cup's greater. Do you know what? Let's be having the conversation when we've won these trophies. Are going. So which one's better? Do you think? Which one has meant more to us? Let's have these conversations. I think it makes the chances of a cup win slightly more realistic. Hopefully this year.
Especially when we've spent 2 seasons coming up trumps in the semi-final. I mean,
yes.
Look, for the first season, yes, we were underdogs, and as usual, we wouldn't have been surprised if Arsenal had have absolutely rattled us, in that semi-final. The fact that we only lost 2-1, there was positives to take from it. And then again, last season, it was just the typical. It's one of those top 3, and we've lost by a goal. We haven't put the ball in the net. We've now righted that wrong. We can put the ball in the net against them. We can get points off them. Now we go one step further.
And even better, Maren Mjelde didn't score at the weekend. So we changed that little bit
I was so happy about that.
John's right. Whatever cup we win will be fab. I think we just... There's a different sense now for me, looking around Twitter today and talking to you guys the last few days when we knew that things were on, that it just feels not so much a pipe dream as more of a realistic hope that we can really go and do something. The conversation between which is better, the FA Cup or the Conti, anything. I just think the only thing I'll give the Conti is it comes sooner. And in the way that Jose Mourinho always used to love getting his hands on the League Cup because that was the first trophy you could win, let's go for the Conti first. And Torrance talking about her countrywoman there. So, she's not supporting Maren Mjelde at all there. She's happy that Leah smashed her. Namrata's joining us very late. So she's still... Yeah, absolutely buzzing for that one, but definitely commented nice about the Alex Greenwood X's group. We're coming up to an hour, so I feel that we've kind of got to park that for a moment. We do have a game on Sunday, and as I talked about on fan cams the bit before I said anything wrong, was we've still got to be professional, because I think we could come off that result against Chelsea. Was a draw, it wasn't a win, let's be honest. We could think, right, you know what, we've got these 2 players coming in, they're going to absolutely rip up trees. Yeah, it's Birmingham, not had a great start, had a bit of a difficult time recently, not a problem. We've still got to be professional. Having said that, can you see anything other than a United win? Fiona?
No, I'm hoping for a comfortable win, but remember Bristol last season at home? I remember Nat saying to Millie on the way in, 6-0 win today, and Millie laughed.
Yeah.
And we just didn't perform. Now, I don't think that will happen again. We'll hopefully learn from that situation and that match. And and with Honor how she played on Sunday, you know, there's hope that she perform that way again. You know, it could quite easily be 5 or 6-0. But yeah, as long as we win, and a couple of goals would be nice. You know, Leah build her confidence. You know, if Jane got a goal, that would be great for her confidence as well. Obviously, a hat trick would be better.
Yes, we'd all do that. Every single goal, especially.
And a clean sheet, I think that's important as well. Make sure we keep that clean sheet. But last season, we didn't get all the points against the lower teams. We need to make sure we do that this year consistently. And so, good game to start that off with. Yeah. And sadly, we're not there, so Nat can't get a half and half scarf.
John makes the point we need a good win. Is what we're made of. Jake would like to make the point about, if we're not talking about Jane Ross, can we talk about one of his other favourites? Lucy Stan possibly making her debut. She was suspended for the Chelsea game. I guess, yes, it would be nice to see, I guess, a goal or two against her old club. Voice like to see Jackie. We'd all like to see Jackie get a goal. Maybe see Ivana's debut. We are obviously thinking about injuries as well. We don't know. Shane, sorry, I blanked out for a minute. Shane, anything other than a Manchester United win against your home team?
Please don't swear again. No, look, I think what I said on Sunday, didn't I? It's very hard to not see United win. I think we, as well as the team, maybe have probably learned a valuable lesson last season with that Bristol game. As much as I hate to talk about that game, and I try and get rid of any recollection of it, but we probably did learn a very valuable lesson, which is to not take any of these games for granted. And always expect that someone can do something. So it is a game where they have to keep their heads, not get too wrapped up in the euphoria of just drew against the champions and all that malarkey. That game's done now. You put that to the back of your heads. This is a game that we have to go and win. Win this game, we're then 4 points better off than where we were at this stage last season, which is a much better start, obviously. Granted, we're not playing 2 games against 2 of the top 3 teams, but at the end of the day, it's the points on the board that matter. Players, yeah, I think.
Can I jump in on your stats here, Shane?
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you. We're starting against 2 teams. We didn't actually get those fixtures against last year.
Well, I pointed this out, didn't I, a few weeks ago when the fixtures came out? Yeah, it was 2 of the games that we didn't get to play. Ironically,
clever then. I thought I was coming up.
But they're ironically at the same grounds as well. We didn't get to play Chelsea at Lee, which actually technically was called off twice, and obviously, as was the Birmingham away game, because we were originally supposed to have that after the Conti Cup fixture we had.
One was winded, one was rained off.
All the weather. So yeah, it's we all know what I think about the FA and the way they draw things. So people are probably sick to death of me going on about it. But yeah, players. Is there a chance Lucy Stan could play? Yes, because she's no longer suspended. Do I think she'll start? Probably not, because I think that there was either, I'm not 100% sure, but she did have a knock in pre-season. There was a pre-season game where she wasn't actually playing in because she was injured. So there's every chance that she could feature because she is available, but I wonder if she would start on the bench. I wouldn't be too surprised to see a very similar starting lineup to what we had on the weekend, given that it's only the second game and there's then a 3-week break. But it's also a good opportunity for everyone on the pitch now to start proving why they're still on the pitch in 3 weeks' time when you've got the 2 new ones. You want to be on the pitch with them, whether they start or whether they come off the bench or not. You want to be on that pitch when they come on. So a game like this on Sunday is a great platform to try and do that.
There's just little things, because we've not got a settled squad as well, for me as well, not knowing A, who's fit, and B, having players that aren't yet integrated in the squad. Apparently, Namros says on Insta about Preston Heath, here we wait for you with open arms. Aw. Just as
Such a way with words.
Just as Jake will be waiting with open arms for the £20 that Iain owes him. Iain, a goal for Jackie and three, and Lucy and 3 for Jane.
Do you know what though? Anything's possible because we have to remember that Birmingham City squad was decimated in summer. You know, they were like us. They only named 4 on the bench on Sunday, including one of their new signings. Obviously, they've signed somebody else since.
Well, Sean asks, will Molly be available to play?
Yes.
I assume if she's fit, she's available. She's a Birmingham player now. There's no, it's a straight deal. There's no loan, and you can't play against your parent club, anything like that.
Yeah,
that's Wardy's decision.
She's available, but you know, I went back and watched the game on the FA Player last night, about 3 o'clock this morning, I think it was.
Nice.
Birmingham City were okay in that first half, but second half, I thought Brighton were the better side. And let's be honest, that Brighton side isn't going to set the world alight either. Hope's done a really good job. She's got a couple of really good players in again, she's got a couple of imports from overseas into Brighton as well to strengthen Brighton. You know, wish I could have gone and seen that. They're literally, obviously, just down the road from me. I'm 400 yards from the Broadfield Stadium. But I would expect that we should win and win comfortably on Sunday. But this will be a case of making sure she gets into players. Keep your focus. You can't be complacent, because that's what happened. As unfortunately as Shane said, we were complacent against Bristol City, and look what happened to us. We were shown up at home.
Yes, and also Brighton away wasn't great. Anthony's going positive for once. Anthony's
he must have Googled it.
Ah, yes, of course. Jake saying that on a serious note, he feels it might be Jane's only chance to score even a single goal. Come on, Jake, support your girl. But he'll also just take a 1-0, get the points. He's right. We can all hope for multiple goals, but 3 points is what it's all about. We're up to an hour, and I just feel like we've barely touched the surface of anything. There's obviously news that's come out today that's going to rumble on. It's going to continue to break the internet. There may be something else tomorrow. The window does officially close tomorrow. Obviously, you don't have to announce deals. You just have to have the paperwork done tomorrow. But we suspect if there is anything that's happening, it'll be announced tomorrow. And then let's get this squad settled. Let's get everybody playing. Let's get everybody fit. And let's see what this season holds for us. Let's hopefully have a few more players hit milestones in terms of appearances. And let's just see what this season holds. Let's hope we get into games, but I think we better strap ourselves in for the ride, because it could be one hell of a journey. I'd just like to thank everybody who's joined us tonight who's not a regular viewer. I'm really aware of the fact that we've got a lot of different people, a lot more people. And thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure we're here every week, literally. It might not be me. I think Mark's back next week. He's back with Jake and maybe somebody else. I'm not entirely sure. They'll probably be talking about the Birmingham game. And they'll probably still be talking about the Ants, because why not milk this for all it's worth? And anything else that might have happened, maybe a new signing. But there's loads that's going on. Iain, Fiona, Shane, thank you so much for joining me. I think we spent most of Sunday together on a watch along. We'll do it all over again this Sunday coming. Fingers crossed it all goes well. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you to everybody, and great day. Good night, all.